Hello, ODST. At the time of this game's release, I had just finished playing Halo 3, and being on the hype train, I begged my dad to get ODST. But knowing how much the game was, that was never going to happen, and I had to wait months to even get my hands on it. But when I did, holy shit, this game was so sick. I was a bit more amped for the little sticker on the box displaying Halo Reach's beta, but going back to ODST, this game was so different. Halo 3 ODST takes place in between the events of 2 and 3. The game follows the player character, the Rookie, and meet with the rest of the ODST who come to the city of New Mombasa in search of the activation for the Ark, but the game doesn't really tell you that, so that might be a little bit of spoiler. Oh well. As the ODST are dropped into the city, an EMP blast sends the pods to clash between each other, scattering them throughout the city, with each of the ODST members trying to find one another in the short time they have before the Covenant overrun them. As the Rookie gets dropped into the city, he falls unconscious, where he awakens 6 hours later to a destroyed city deprived of any civilians or allies. All that remains is the Covenant and the harrowing sound of silence as he searches for his squad. Halo 3 ODST was by far the most different Halo game at this time. This game broke the Halo formula in a way when I first played it, I had no idea how to react. Traditionally, you would go through each level in a consecutive way, but Halo ODST consists of Rookie going through the city of New Mombasa searching for clues as to where his team might be. And as he finds those clues, the game will cut to a flashback where those are the levels themselves, where they showcase the destruction of how the city came to be. What sets Halo ODST apart from all the other Halo games is the level structure itself. There is none. You have the option to play any level in whatever order you want, as long as you find the clues for your team's whereabouts. And the reason I say that is because the city is quite open world. It's more like a hub area thing more than anything. Anyway, in the city you can find supply caches that help you take out a Covenant or even explore a bit. You can find multiple audio logs of normal civilians going about the day as the Covenant attack their very own city. They depict the Covenant in a way no game can. It's quite daunting to see a regular human being encountering huge monstrous beings from another world. But what I love most about ODST is the tone. So right from the get-go, unlike every other Halo game, ODST sends the player to a distraught, downtrodden, terrifying dystopian city where nothing but the Covenant roam. Unlike every other Halo game, you are either on different planets or on a Halo ring, and both depict the artistry of a dazzling skyline as you go through them. But ODST is a dark and messy game with realistic tone pieces that depict the horrors of war, not just for the ODST, but everybody who was sent to the city. Anyone who was sent here was bound to die as the Covenant find what they're looking for. Everything about the city really engulfed me with immersion. It's crazy, no other Halo game has done this. I love how the majority of this game is set in an abyss. There is no music. All you can hear is the cries of a silent city that was once populated. The visual storytelling of the city, in and out, is one that is dark and grim, reminiscent of a 1960s noir film. And with that, the music that is in the game really feels natural to the surroundings you are in, and is perhaps my favorite soundtrack in the Halo franchise. With slow pianos to smooth, sexy jazz to epic guitars as you're finding your way through the Covenant Horde. When it comes to the gameplay for Halo ODST, I would always recommend people to play on Legendary, as it's more or less the same as the other Halo games, but ODST has you really feel like a Marine. You are no Spartan. You can't just go out and destroy waves of enemies. You have to come up with a strategy when going into a battle. And that is another reason why this game is so brilliant. You are no super soldier. You are just a regular soldier fighting in a battle that will never make it to the history books. Unlike the Chief, who destroys everything in his path, as an ODST, you have to move slowly. Everything is deadly. One failed blow could result in death. You have no overshields or an AI to back you up. All you have is your surroundings and intelligence to keep you alive. And having no overshield means when losing health, you have to find medpacks to restore your life, and knowing that a single shot from a grunt can destroy any progress you made makes you more cautious to your surroundings. That being said, the levels themselves are fun. Each one has its own spin to make it feel unique, so you never feel the gameplay loop being repetitive. Well, I would say that the last two missions didn't exist, but by the halfway point the game is repetitive. You fight waves of enemies and are on a long motorway doing an escort mission. It felt boring and it overstayed its welcome. Other than that, they're fine. They're nothing to write home about. The levels are fine for the most part. As for the ODS team you're with, they're cool. Each one of them have their own personalities and what they believe in. The only problem is none of them are that memorable. And the rookie, he's supposed to be you the player, that's why he's mute. Other than that, he's just kind of there. He exists solely for this game and nothing else. He has nothing of value. He could be removed from the game and nothing would have changed. Another issue with the team is the team aspect. By the time they're reunited, there's only a handful of missions with all of them in them, and there's not enough character progression for them to be remembered. The only character you need to remember is Buck and nobody else. Don't worry about anybody else. Buck actually does return later on in the game from what I've been told, so that's it. It would be nicer if they met up sooner or if the game had more missions, but this is by far the shortest Halo game to date, and with the game being priced at £40 when it came out, I'm kinda glad my dad refused to buy it until much later, seeing how it didn't really add anything new, as even the firefight mode, which was the new thing, was possibly the most basic horde mode of that time, as COD Modern Warfare 2 had its own survival mode, and that was way better than this, and how Gears of War 3 had its very own horde mode, which was again better than this. So I kinda get the backlash when this game first came out at that time, but I would personally still love another ODST game. Other than that, Halo ODST's gameplay is a 7 out of 10. The levels are fine but nothing crazy. The set pieces of New Mombasa is what makes the gameplay so different from all the other Halo games. And as for the story, I don't even want to get into it as it's boring and quite forgettable. It has no impact on anything. If you were to skip this game, you wouldn't miss a thing. While this game is amazing in its atmosphere, the story really leaves more to be desired, and with the team aspect only coming in towards the end, nothing about it felt special. I don't even know how to give this game a score in terms of story. If I had to, it would be a 3 out of 10. One lesser than Halo 3, but not because the story is bad, but because of how bland it is. If we could get another ODST game that took place outside of the mainline games, it would then mean we could have more stakes to the campaign, as to who lives and dies and what happens during the campaign. We don't need to focus on any of the plot lines to keep it in check with any of the other mainline games. We can go off the walls bonkers as wild as they want. That'll be so cool. Anyways, the story was pointless and I really didn't care. Anyways, that's it for me. Take care and see ya.